Thursday, May the 21st, 2020, 25 past 2 in the afternoon. 12 weeks of false imprisonment by Waltham Forest Council, and all I get are 2 emails yesterday evening saying lots of people were talking about you behind your back, Mr. Gibbons, but nothing's getting done, we're just going to talk about it. So, after hearing this for most of my life and nothing gets done, I replied back to the two people, one from Social Prescribing and one from the council that has been helping me. And I basically said the time for talking is over. Nothing's get done. Talking is a way of delaying things. I've got rubbish piling up in the kitchen. I'm living off handouts from the local COVID-19 group. I'm too scared to open my front door. I've got neighbours attacking me left, right and centre. And the laughable thing is I've made Waltham Forest Council aware at all stages that I've got autism and anxiety and depression. And the one big thing I said to the housing people when I signed the tenancy is, oh, at least there's not many families in the block. There's only one family. And they've since moved out, and Waltham Forest has moved 2 families in. And knowing there's someone with anxiety and autism in the block, why did they do that? It's dead simple. There is a solution. Get rid of all the troublemakers. Because I have done nothing wrong. I am a bloody good tenant and a decent person. And all Waltham Forest Council seem to want to do is to support the lawbreakers and support them in as much as they let them carry on breaking the law and abusing people with disabilities, and they do nothing to stop it. Pieces of paper and little chats are one thing, but it's action that counts, especially on estates. I just witnessed this local police come down this morning getting abused by the tenants. I emailed Karen and Ian Duncan Smith to try and get them to get housing to come down here, because it should be housing supporting the police. In fact, the police should be supporting housing. At the end of the day, these are housing tenants. They should not be allowed to abuse the police. And that is a breach of their tenancy. So housing should be on this estate, all estates where there's problems. I don't care about I haven't got the funding or I haven't got the staff. Well, shut down the estates if you can't manage them then. Simple. If you haven't got the staff to manage the estate, close your estates and then see what government thinks. Don't hide the figures. If you haven't got enough people to manage the estates, only keep the estates open that you can manage. I mean, quite frankly, Waltham Forest Housing could probably manage these estates correctly if housing were sufficiently trained in correct customer service and in public service code of conduct. They are making work for themselves by actually not doing it correctly the first time. Instead of thanking tenants and ignoring them, they just ignore them. I am at my final, I'm at the end, literally at the end of my tether. I feel like no one is listening to me. No one in 12 weeks has contacted me. Only Duncan from the Independent Living Office has contacted me. All other calls I've received are because I've left a message for them to call me back. Only Duncan calls me on a regular basis and checks up on me without me chasing him. And I'm not saying that's what I think housing should be doing. No, housing should just be doing their job. Managing the estate. We've got repairs on the estate that have been outstanding since last year. I've tried to mention them to the housing officer and he just walked away from me. He ignored me in a public meeting and no action has been taken about it. At least no action that I've been told of. Which means Waltham Forest Council are condoning rude, bad behaviour by its housing staff. No way on this planet should a member of the public service be allowed to ignore a member of the public. And yet he gets away with it every time. I do keep asking for him to be retrained. I believe he could be a bloody good housing officer if only he had some customer service training. You can't go into that job without proper training. And I do believe, he's lasted over a year before our housing officer came along. In the first year, I went through 3 housing officers. In fact, in the first 6 months, from May to December, there was 3 housing officers. And he's been in there since December 2018. So a good long time. I just think he deserves a little bit of customer service training. And maybe to smarten up, because he does appear like a workman on the estate. He doesn't look like a council officer. It just looks like someone that's digging up the water mains. And there used to be a code of conduct for people in public, in civil and public service. And I'm sure there still is now. Because a lot of the other council staff, I don't see dressing like my housing officer. Anyway, I constantly keep checking my emails and my phone in case there's any missed calls. And no one is actually... If I don't hear anything from anyone, I believe I'm being ignored. It may be incorrect, but unless there's decent customer service and they update me, I don't want people talking about me behind my back and getting things done. I want to resolve the issues. I want to be discussed in resolving the issues. Not everyone runs around, gets a letter sent out saying I'm vulnerable, and oh well, we've managed to do that now then. What about complaints? What about actual repairs? What about estate management? What about the bad behaviour on the estate? What about drug use and knife on the estates? What about fire escapes being blocked? This is all housing. And yet I've mentioned it to housing over 18 months now and nothing gets done. The only time housing have actually got something done is when there was a meeting in January and I went over to them and housing and one of the surveyors was there. And because the surveyor was there, I got the repair done that afternoon. So that makes me wonder that housing are sitting on stuff or ignoring what I'm saying. I'm not saying everything I say has to be done, but most of what I say should be done without me saying anything. I keep mentioning to the council, you've got caretakers on all the estates. They should be raising these repair issues. That's Tabs playing with a mouse, toy mouse, shaking the camera. Hence the reason why I needed the tripod stand, because he would have knocked it over by now. No, I'm not saying caretakers should do the repairs, but they should be, like I keep saying, the eyes and ears of the council. They're on the estate. Anything they notice that needs actioning, they should report to housing, and housing should action it. It shouldn't wait for someone to put a complaint in before they do something. Fire escapes should be cleared every time the caretaker cleans them. They're not supposed to have stuff in there, so the caretaker takes anything when he's cleaning the staircase, and then you would have the problem sorted. If they're really worried, blanket letters. Just letter everyone. It's all part of the tenancy. They know they're not renting the space in the stairwell or the fire escape, so they shouldn't be putting stuff there. It's not their land. They're not paying rent on it. They know they shouldn't be doing it. But, okay, write letters to everyone, remind them once, no more, once, and then give them 2 weeks, like they did in my block, and then they still haven't done it. And then every time the caretaker goes round and does his bits, he either takes the little bits and pieces himself, or he calls the guys over from the estate cleaners, and they come and clear the staircase. Every time. And that way, all fire escapes are compliant. Easy. What's so difficult with that? Waltham Forest housing. I mean, if they're just cleaners and they're supposed to just go round with their eyes shut and their ears shut, pay them and call them cleaners. Don't pay them as a caretaker, reduce their income and pay them minimum wage, because that's all cleaners get mostly. And then we'll see how bad the estates get when you've just got cleaners on the estate. Because no one will want to do that on estates for the price of a cleaner. There's no joined up thinking by Waltham Forest Council from what I can see. It's like housing are responsible for the estates, but they don't get involved. They don't physically come to the estates and get involved. They are too afraid of knocking on residents' doors and pointing out absolutely obvious things. Stuff outside their door that shouldn't be there. Or people wandering around doing, against lockdown rules. Even just people on the estates in the evening making antisocial behaviour. There should be someone from housing on a 24-hour duty cycle, so that if there is antisocial behaviour, housing and the police come down. Waltham Forest should not leave it just to the poor police. They run off their hands and feet, and they do so much that the council should be doing. I mean, give them a chance. The police will get there and will do things, but they are run off their feet in this borough. Whereas it should be, we call the council, antisocial behaviour, call them, not email them, and then get a response back saying, we'll contact you within 3 days, when there's a party going on and you've got no one to call because they took that number away 2 years ago. We should be able to contact the council, antisocial behaviour contacts police, and then both of them come down. Led by housing. Someone from housing needs to come down, and if there's tenants making a nuisance, housing takes a note of the name and address and then marks it up on their record. Antisocial behaviour, tick. Infringement of your tenancy. 3 strikes, you're out. Bang. Half of my block should be out already. They've already got 2 or 3 strikes against them. If housing were doing their job. And that's where I am at the moment. It's just under 30 degrees. I've got the fan on in the bedroom, and the bedroom smells like a swimming pool now, which is nice because it's got bleachy water in, because it's the first time I've turned the fan on in 6 months. So the first load has bleach in it, cleanse it, so it's not chuck it. I've wiped it all out inside as well, but just to clean all the cloth and things like that. So the bedroom's being cooled down for the cats. They're actually, one's out here on the floor. They're sleeping on the floor mostly, in the kitchen and in the hallway. Hopefully by the time this goes to air, sometime in July, which is 6 weeks away, something like that, then this issue will be resolved. Because if at 18 weeks I'm still locked in relying on food parcels, and I've got cat litter bags piling up in the kitchen, which will be in the hallway by then, because I've already got 3 bags, all the council seems to do, or want to do, is little patchy repairs. We'll get someone, I had an email from Karen yesterday, we'll get someone round and take the rubbish away. No one came. No one. And I've already said to Karen and the council, I don't want the people that should be on disciplinary, the same people that refuse to carry out instructions from their superiors by clearing the fire escape. They refused to do it. They took one prayer, and I think that was broken anyway. So, it's not an easy life. It is a struggle. I'm making sure the cats are healthy at least. No one gives a monkeys about me. Apart from Mary Prittis. She's the only other one. Duncan and Mary, the only ones that actually look after me. And yet Mary I don't like putting on because I'm out of her way now. And it isn't really her responsibility. It is the council. I've made the council aware from the get-go. And they're just not upholding my rights as a tenant or as a disabled person. And I really don't know where to turn. The Ombudsman is still shut, not taking any new cases. And I'm not sure it would do any good because the Ombudsman can't enforce anything. They can investigate complaints that haven't been actioned, etc., etc. And they can come up with findings and recommendations, but that is it. There is no compulsion for the council to do anything. Even if they get an Ombudsman saying, you've done this totally wrong. I've had it before where they've been told off for not actually doing things correctly, and they've carried on not doing things correctly. And the Ombudsman just writes to me saying, well, we have found in your favour, but we can't do anything. We've got no powers of enforcement. Great idea, whoever set that one up. So, there we are. I've managed to do the power socket. I've put the extension on. So that's all wired in. I just need to put the trunking in. I tested it this morning. The wiring's well, not perfect, but the wiring's safe. I just need to put the trunking over to stop Caspi chewing it. It should be alright. It's twin and earth. It's quite thick cable. So even Caspi's teeth can't get through that. But I'll put the trunking on later tonight. And that will make that safe. I've got the Wi-Fi and the camera plugged into the one I've just put on. And the Wi-Fi is now getting 50 meg down and about 25, 30 up, which is the best I've ever had. Even when I was on broadband, for those few weeks I was on broadband, I wasn't getting anywhere near that. Not in this place. And it's approximately the same speed I was getting. I mean, the upload is a lot faster than I was getting in Dagenham on BT. I think I was only getting like 8 meg up on the BT broadband. But I was getting constantly 52 down, 24/7. Never had a problem with BT. It's just I can't get decent signal or decent cabling here from BT because the previous tenants had just like bell cable extensions on. And the cable that's run in to the flat from BT, that doesn't seem to be the right cable either. And it's just not getting the signal. And I was only capable of getting 4 meg at best. They could only guarantee 1 meg, and that's not good enough. I need at least 5 down and at least 5 up. I'm getting anything over 10 is a bonus to me because I use OneDrive and I sync my phones to the clouds, so they need a good upload speed. Otherwise the sync all breaks and I get errors all over the place. But at the moment it seems to be working fine. Oh, what else is there? I've mentioned about I'm still waiting for someone to contact me from the council. After those 2 emails I sent yesterday, and one of them actually had the chief exec, Martin Eason, copied in. I thought you're taking the mick. So I've replied back to her, the councillor, and I said, excuse me, I don't want Martin Eason anywhere near this. He's caused this problem. I tried alleviating these issues back in February and he ignored me. He didn't even read my email and he just passed it on to corporate complaints. Even though I said in the email, please don't rate this as a corporate complaint. So Martin Eastham is part of the problem. All I want from Martin Eastham is his signature on relevant documents when it's decided what is going to happen. That is the only involvement I need from Martin. If he wasn't bothered 12 weeks ago, then I can't be bothered talking to him now, frankly. And the same with Michelle Maloney. She's supposed to have called me 11 weeks ago. Still haven't had a call. No apology. I mean, apologies would be good. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Gibbons. I did pass it on to corporate complaints because one of my staff did this or one of my staff did that. But I've copied Martin in on virtually every email. And it's too late now. I don't want to talk to the chief executive. He didn't want to talk to me 12 weeks ago. Why should I talk to him now? Remember, I've got Asperger's. I don't hold a grudge, but I don't see the point of talking to someone that doesn't want to talk to me. I'm not begging for mercy. I'm asking the council to respect myself and to treat all residents with respect, unless, well, even if they are doing something wrong, still respect them. Not ignore them. And the other thing, the one thing I want Waltham Forest to do, which would alleviate a lot of the problems, I believe, is for there to be a corporate complaints email, and all complaints get forwarded to that email box so they automatically get logged. Not complain to the department, you complain to complaints. They log it and then pass it back to the department you're complaining about. Because if you complain to the department, complaints have not got a record, and if that department doesn't forward your stuff up, it goes nowhere. And if they have deleted your email or your letter and it hasn't been recorded, etc., etc., you can complain all you want to corporate complaints. But if there's no record of the complaint, then you will lose the complaint. Whereas if all complaints are sent directly to a corporate complaints email box and acknowledged automatically, so it's logged, then you can get a true realisation of how many complaints each department are receiving. You cannot trust departments to handle complaints fairly and responsibly, not after what I've seen. It has to be taken out of departments, and all complaints need to go to the complaints team to, one, get logged, and two, get forwarded. I mean, really, complaints team should manage all complaints. It shouldn't go to the department. For instance, if I complain about housing, the procedure is I complain to housing, I write to my housing manager, and he does an investigation into the complaint, even if the complaint is about my housing manager. So he investigates himself, basically. Whereas it should go to complaints, and if it's the housing manager, complaints investigate the housing manager. If it's someone below the housing manager, then it goes to the housing manager, for instance, or the department head, or whatever they... I've tried making the head of towns out of the Waltham Forest divisions, and I don't know where the middle management layers are or where it all stops. There's directors and there's sort of like area managers and all that sort of stuff. If it was more like McDonald's, I'd be able to get my head around it, but there's so many people that are hidden from view, and they're not exactly the most open borough on the planet. Their website does not give you many details. You can't contact people. You don't know who people are. And I'm sorry, these are public servants hiding their names. You should be able to see who is in charge and have an email address for corporate complaints on the website. It would make it so much easier. If you've got any complaints, email corporate complaints. So you'd have the corporate complaints email, an address for corporate complaints, and maybe even a fax number. Damn, there must be some people out there with fax machines. If they want to send you a fax, then send a fax. But at least email and a postal address. Anything else that I've missed? No, not at the moment, I suppose. It's all a bit frustrating because I'm here by myself and I've got no support, apart from Mary keeps offering, but I really don't want her to come down. It's nice to have someone to talk to and that, but it's not going to help me. Because at the end of the day, the council needs to do things they're supposed to be doing. And it's not like I've not tried to help them all the way along the line. I've not stood in their way. I don't like raising complaints. It's time consuming to get nothing done. And the only reason I raise complaints is so there's a log that there's something that's actually been wrong. And I'm not 100% confident that all my complaints have actually been forwarded to complaints. I'm sure people think I complain to get things done. No. You do things the way you want to do them, but I complain to change the system, to improve the system, so that it doesn't keep happening. That's the only reason I complain. Anyway, I've rambled on too long. Even though I think it's only, 15, 20 minutes? I don't know how long I've been chatting for. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe and share and let me know if there's anything not working or you can't see certain bits of the videos. I'll have a look into it. I've been setting them up all sort of like quickly over the last week or so. So I'm taking a bit more time on these videos. I'm trying to edit them so they look a bit more slick, like the earlier ones used to. As I say, I welcome your comments. Mental health status, before I go, is I would say -3. Going on to -4, but definitely -3. So it's getting worse. It's getting on the verge of suicidal again. Except because I can't get out, I can't get anything to harm myself with. Normally vodka, that's the best thing. And KFC doesn't deliver vodka. They'll deliver Coke and things like that, but they won't deliver vodka. I have run out of options. You know, I'm sitting here imprisoned and my head is just spinning. I couldn't even get to sleep till about 3 o'clock this morning. Anyway, thank you for watching. Sorry for rambling. I'll speak to you soon.